Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island podcast. I'm Jack Kennedy,
And I'm Mace Martinez.
and this is your podcast for the latest in MMA. I'm Jack Kennedy, and they hit a lot harder, in my opinion, too.
Mace Martinez. He put Aldo stiff in 13 seconds before Bruce Buffer could even plant his ass in his seat.
I'm Marcos Diaz. You can't keep getting opportunities if you get hurt.
And this is the MMA Island podcast.
So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. This is our podcast for this week. Obviously, we'll be taking off the next one because it is Christmas Eve. But we have a stacked podcast for you today. We are coming off one of an amazing fight now with some great fights. We will be talking about the ones that we predicted on the last podcast, as well as some news regarding who Stephen Thompson should fight next. Obviously, he got the win in the main event. We'll be talking about that. And Stipe versus Ngannou, some rumored news about that. So we will be talking about that as well. With that, let's get into it. And with the first fight that was on the main card, and a crazy fight that this was one of the first fights on the main card, Marlon Moraes stepped in against Rob Font, and Rob Font got a major victory at 135, which will propel him at least into the top 10. What are your thoughts on this crazy result and great fight from Rob Font?
Yeah, I was definitely shocked at the result. I thought Moraes came out. He looked good coming out and controlled Font for the first couple minutes, and then once Font got back to his feet, I mean, he just put work on him. Was able to. To me, Moraes' chin looked a little suspect, man. Like the shots that he took, they didn't seem like they were the most devastating shots I've ever seen landed on somebody. Like the uppercut he took that dropped him, I really didn't think was that big of a shot. But I mean, I could be wrong, but it just didn't look like it was. I don't know. He looked off to me a little bit, but not taking anything away from Font, man. He fought greatly for as long as it lasted. Like you said, he'll definitely be in the top 10. By the time this episode comes out, he'll be in the top 10, and I'm excited to see what's next for him. As far as Moraes goes, I'm anxious to see what's next for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was crazy to see because usually you're seeing Marlon Moraes, and he is one of the most dangerous strikers in that division. But obviously, he's coming off that brutal loss to Sandhagen with that kick that he took, and that really rocked him. He went into this fight, and I expected it to be just a stand-up war. But Marlon Moraes, to everybody, I think a lot of people were surprised with this. He won Rob Font taken down. He took him down early in the fight. He wanted to keep him there. And I heard the commentators talking about this too, and it was just very interesting. And sure enough, as soon as he stood back up, he looked uncomfortable. It was almost like he had been finished twice, and now that his chin had been tested so many times, I don't even know if it was necessarily that it was his chin that failed him, or that if it was him that just he was doubting himself so much going up onto the feet because he had just been finished like that in his last fight, especially when he should be a stand-up fighter. And that's where I thought it was coming from, because like you were saying, and this is not to discredit Rob Font at all, because obviously that boxing that he showed, that those punches were elite, and he deserves to be in the top 10 after finishing a guy like Marlon Moraes. So congrats to Rob Font, amazing fight. But Marlon Moraes got rocked by, it seemed like a stiff jab that really put him back, and then he kind of just ducked right into an uppercut. It was like he was almost shell-shocked whenever he was standing on the feet. He just didn't really feel comfortable there at all, which is so weird to see. So I don't know where his head is at. This is still a relatively fast turnaround for him, especially after headlining that fight, even though it was a little bit ago. I think he's going to need some time off just to regroup, really heal up 100%. But honestly, after seeing that, I don't know if Marlon Moraes will ever be the same. It was just his biggest game on the feet. It's hard to see. And then again, maybe I'm completely wrong about this, and maybe it's just the fact that Rob Font is that good. I hope that is the case, because I love seeing Marlon Moraes fight. But man, he looks Rob Font now. He looks so good on the feet, and I'm so excited to see what he drops into this division and what he'll do, because it's already an exciting division, top to bottom. There's so many options for him, so I'm excited to see where it goes. So great win for Rob Font overall is my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I think it's. I think you can attribute the obviously the skill of Rob Font more than maybe the letdown of Moraes,
Yeah.
but it's a little of both.
Mhm.
It's a little of both for sure.
Yep. All right, next up. So another crazy fight. Two big names, two big prospects, especially one. Michelle Pereira versus Chaos Williams. This fight was, you could just tell the power was there. It obviously went to a decision. You correctly predicted it would go to a decision, but man, these guys, you could just tell, were so respectful of each other with the power. What are your thoughts on Pereira edging out a win over Chaos Williams?
Yeah, like you said, respectful of each other's power. They were hesitant to begin,
Yeah.
Really to engage at the beginning. I thought that uh, Williams got the better of the exchanges in the first, what exchanges there were, and I gave him the first round, and then I gave Pereira the next 2 rounds. I think in the second round they were both aggressive. Um, Obviously, Pereira goes. I think he really showed a lot to the judges. I think he swayed the judges when he took that late rear naked choke attempt.
Yeah.
It was pretty aggressive, and he looked like it looked pretty tight, looked pretty sunk in. Who knows what would have happened if there was more time on the clock? And then the third round, he obviously pulls out as well. He fought extremely well, better than I thought. Like you said, I thought this would go to decision. I did not think he'd get the victory. I just thought that he was tough enough to withstand Williams, but not really outfight him like he did. Like I said, I didn't expect him to get the W, but it's good for him. I think he can be seen as a serious contender now with performances like that. But neither one of these guys is going anywhere. I think Williams, I don't think he loses much by taking this loss. I think he'll still be around. He's still exciting. He can still knock people out with one shot. So that's going to keep him relevant. And who knows, maybe we'll see these guys again, compete against each other again. But great fight. And Michelle deserves a victory. And hopefully he gets somebody a little higher rank now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a great, it was such an interesting matchup from the beginning. It was pretty crazy to see. And obviously the two styles, if you're a fan that doesn't know either of these names, you'd probably say that it was a boring fight because they weren't throwing too much. But if you know who these guys are and what power they possess, I was sitting on the edge of my seat the entire time because I know one shot lands from either of them and the other guy could go out. And for Michel Pereira, he fought so well. He even better than the last fight, although the last fight was more a dominant performance. But this fight, in my opinion, fighting a way tougher guy, and he performed so well. He did crazy stuff, but enough to like where it would work and not cost him too many situations. And he was so calm and reserved and landed a ton of punches and strikes just whenever he needed to. And his movement is so huge that because Chaos Williams strives on just that one opportunity to land that punch, and he didn't really have that opportunity. Every time Chaos Williams would engage, Pereira would in clinch up and get out of the way. It was beautifully done. First, and also before I get into the outcome of this fight, a lot of people were calling this fight a robbery. People need to stop with that. Even if you thought Chaos Williams won, it's not a robbery. It's a close fight. A close fight is not a robbery. You cannot call that a robbery, even though if you thought the other guy won, it's a really close fight.
Right.
In my opinion, I did score it for Pereira. I thought he actually did win, which a lot of people thought Williams won, and that's fair. But just first round, okay, if you want to give that kick to Chaos Williams, fine, because he did throw more leg kicks. But the second round, at the end of it, it was very even, especially on significant strikes and everything. It was very close. And then at the end of it, Pereira went down and then got that huge choke at the end of it. And that was the biggest thing there. And it wasn't like that was just an insignificant thing too. He actually finished his last opponent with that thing, even though he doesn't have any hooks in or anything. He actually did finish his last opponent with that exact same situation.
Yep.
So it is a huge moment in the fight, especially at the end of the round. It looks like he's going to finish him, but the bell saved him. Even if that might not have happened, that's how it appears. So that's a huge moment in the fight, and that won that round for me. And then the third round, I don't think anybody can argue with that. Michel Pereira definitely won that. He just completely outperformed on the movement, was so mesmerizing, and he was starting definitely in the third round. He kind of reserved himself the first and second, did enough to win them, and then in the third round, he went to work because he knew he was at least even on the scorecard and he could showcase everything. And he looked great to me, especially in that third round. I was so impressed. And the fact that he was able to hold on to his gas tank throughout the whole fight and look so good in the last round. The last round was his best round, which throughout his career has really never happened before. So I was so impressed with him. And he looks ready to move up, in my opinion. After that, he looks ready to go up and face a tougher guy.
Yes, I agree. I think he ended the third round on top.
Yeah.
So, well, ground and pound. So, man, yeah. I think you're right about that. I think he's ready to move up.
All right. So, now the co-main event, Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera. Again, another great fight. Jose Aldo back in action, gets the win by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight?
So, yeah, I thought Vera came out early and really put pressure on Aldo, but he didn't really do too much. The first couple of rounds, I loved the body work that Aldo was doing on Vera. It was just great. It reminded me of the Jeremy Stevens fight, that the body shot that he stopped him with. I figured that was coming sooner or later, but Vera is pretty tough, and not to say that Jeremy Stevens isn't, but Aldo did great in the first round. He was able to land some leg kicks and check the leg kicks that Vera was throwing at him. So I had Aldo winning all 3 rounds. In the third round, it's like Vera came out just overly aggressive, like he wanted every bit of Jose Aldo. And it was just a little sidestep, and Aldo's able to take his back and lock in that body triangle for, a good part of 4 minutes.
I think it was 4 minutes,
and just numerous submission attempts. I mean, never really went all out to submit him, but Vera had no answer with Aldo on his back. So I actually thought that the third round could have been a 10-8 round. I think we discussed that. It was pretty dominant for Aldo, and I had him unanimous decision. So, like we talked about before, I thought Aldo was on the chopping block before this fight. Maybe he saved his career. He fought like his career was on the line. And if he wants Dillashaw next, I'm down for that, man.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't think Dillashaw needs to come back to a title shot. I think Aldo would be the perfect comeback fight for him. So yeah, he's calling him out, and I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. We talked about this before. Jose Aldo is ready to fight every single time he steps in there. Yes, he hasn't been the same, but he is still ready to go. And he proved that he was still UFC deserving. He went out there and really put on a show. Marlon Vera is very tough. He's a very tough fighter. I love the work that he was putting in as well. I believe they scored the first round for Marlon Vera. Maybe this is the second for Marlon Vera. I think it was the second on the official judges scorecard. I still like Jose Aldo in those rounds, just like you did. He looks so good, especially on the feet. Those body shots, I love him. The combinations he would throw in, jab, and then was like left hook to the body, and then he would kick him in the leg with those Jose Aldo's leg kicks, and then you could see him, and that would hurt him every single time. It was beautiful to watch. It was vintage, and then of course in the third round, he gets him on his back. I scored it a 10-8 for the last round because, he wasn't doing too much damage, but he had him in one of the most dominant positions for the entire round. That's one of the few times I've seen that where someone's actually able to hold on to that body lock for the entire third round pretty much. That takes so much effort to hold that in, especially on your legs, to hold that position. And obviously he was going for chokes and punching him in the face. Marlon Vera didn't have an answer for it. Marlon Vera even used the strength to stand up, walk him across the cage, and drop him, and he still couldn't loosen up the grip. It was incredible. I was amazed, and obviously Jose Aldo has elite jiu-jitsu, but we never see it because he doesn't really have to use it often because the stand-up is such a high level, and he just proved it there. It was amazing to watch, and just like you said, that TJ Dillashaw call-out, that's the perfect fight for me. You have to match him up after that, and TJ Dillashaw's got to take Jose Aldo very seriously. He's definitely not a pushover, so so impressive. I love to see Jose Aldo get a win.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned, that like Vera walked over to his corner with Aldo on his back, and I don't know if he was looking for advice on what to do or what, but even those guys look lost. I mean, they're like, what are we supposed to tell you? He was strapped on there. He wasn't coming off. So great win for Aldo. Hopefully he gets Dillashaw next. I'd be down for that.
Absolutely. All right. In the main event of the evening, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson beat Jeff Neal by a dominant decision. Stephen Thompson is back officially, definitely for sure. Jeff Neal, he'll be back. It was a great fight, one of the most respectful showings you will see. What are your thoughts on this great win from Stephen Thompson?
I thought Wonderboy looked outstanding. Great movement throughout the fight. I think that made a huge difference, just staying away from Neil's power. Obviously, part of the game plan, a smart thing to do. He got landed on a couple of times, but that's going to happen in a fight.
Yeah.
But he limited the amount of shots that he took, especially to the head, and he just fought so smart, man. In the first round, obviously they had the headbutt, and I was like, oh man, like who's this going to affect more? Like it's such a good fight,
Yes.
matchup wise. So I didn't want the headbutt to be an excuse for either one of them. I don't think either one of them has used the headbutt as an excuse, but I think Wonderboy, especially the first couple of rounds, he just looked too fast for Neil, too fast on his feet, even the striking. In the third round, I thought Neil was more aggressive, but I thought Wonderboy stole that round in like the last 30 seconds. He landed a great 4 or 5 punch combination.
Yeah.
So I gave that round to Wonderboy. And on my card, Wonderboy won all 5 rounds, and just like the judge's card as well. So obviously the fourth round came around. Neil he really hadn't got going yet. I think in the fourth round that Neil landed more high fives and fist bumps than he did actual punches. And Wonderboy's such a nice guy. He's over there punching Neil in the face and then asking him if he's okay, and then he's in the face again. So I love that about Wonderboy. But a great fight, and then obviously the fifth round starts, and there's big exchanges between both of them. Neil's very aggressive, probably the most aggressive he's been throughout the fight. And it appeared that Wonderboy had injured his knee. I think a knee from Neil in the round prior compromised his knee pretty bad, so where the movement was almost non-existent. It slowed way down. What I did like about Wonderboy was that he stood in the pocket and he just exchanged. I didn't expect that from him. I thought that he would try moving as much as he could, but he just stood there and went to work, and they went to work on each other, really. And I think, in my opinion, at a certain point, Wonderboy overwhelmed Neil. It started to work him over a little bit. I was very impressed with Thompson, just his toughness and durability, his movement, like I said. And he just, when it comes down to it, he outclassed Neil hands down. But it just great win for him. And like you said, Neil will be back. He's a great fighter. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of power in those hands still. So I just think that Wonderboy was a little too much, a little bit too big of a challenge for Neil right now. But he's definitely still a contender.
Absolutely. First off, I want to shout out both guys just because this is the most respectful fight you will ever see. Stephen Thompson, they were in a clinch situation. Jeff Neal's mouth guard fell out. They took a pause. He picked it up. They went right back in, and both guys slipped. Both guys let him get back up and didn't pounce on him and stuff. It's just such great guys, both of them. And it's just it's so fun, especially whenever it's just about the fight and it's not about just I actually want to hurt the other guy. It's so I love that about it. And honestly, I'm watching this and I'm just amazed every time I've been watching Stephen Thompson, especially recently, because he's been able to. One of the problems I was seeing with him a little bit ago, whenever he lost to Darren Till, is that he would not sit down on his punches. He would just kind of tap them and try and point his way to victory. But recently, he's been going back to the old way he fought, which has been working. He sits down on his punches now. He actually lands with intent to finish now, and it's really paying off for him. I love the way he fought, and I'm watching this, and he is one of the. I'm trying to think. He's not the most powerful or pinpoint, but he is just, in my opinion, I'm watching that, and I can't name a better striker than him right now in the UFC. Just completely outclassed Jeff Neal, and Jeff Neal is one of the best. I think he's already, even though he's ranked 11, one of the best in that division. He'll prove it in the next fight. But Wonderboy, he doesn't get hit. The only real damage was from that headbutt where he got cut open. Other than that, he was completely on the move. That delayed head kick he lands all the time. I love that. His only real weakness I see is whenever he goes against the cage. That's where Jeff Neal is able to land a couple because he fights with his stand so low. He takes a second to circle. I always cringe whenever I see that because I'm like, oh, put your hands up real quick because that's a dangerous situation, especially with a guy like Jeff Neal. But he escaped every single time. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch and great fight overall. We talked about this on the last podcast. No one's talking about Stephen Thompson. He's ranked 5th in that division. He's one fight away from a title shot. Obviously, he called out Colby Covington, we'll talk about not Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. We'll talk about this in our next little segment, but absolute masterclass from Stephen Thompson, and he proved that he is one of the best in the division and can challenge for a title at 170. And for Jeff Neal as well, like you said, just a little bit too fast. He's not at that level yet. I do like where his mind is at, though. On Instagram, he posted that he's actually, even though he lost, he's happy with himself because he was able to go the full distance with Stephen Thompson. He fought through adversity, and respect to him 100%. And as for Stephen Thompson, he, in my opinion, won a round. That 5th round was unbelievable because he was content to stay in the pocket and throw at Jeff Neal because he wasn't able to move. He won that 5th round with one leg, which was incredible to me. Yeah. And part of the reason was Jeff Neal at that point had to go for a knockout. And so he was having to throw those looping punches that would, put Stephen Thompson down because that's just where he was at. He didn't really have a choice. But by doing that, Stephen Thompson, who has the longer reach, I don't know if he had the longer reach, but he's at least a taller fighter, was able to land 15 straight punches, which is what he does before Jeff Neal can land the 1-2. And it was beautiful to watch. It was so fun, and both guys just hats off. And Stephen Thompson, I'm very happy for him, and he's going to be challenging for the title, I feel, very soon.
I agree. Yeah, great fight to end the year on for the UFC. Great Absolutely. Fight card. Great fight card.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy to think that was going to be the co-main event for.
Yep. Exactly. That's a great point.
All right, so rolling right in, and this is our first little piece of news, but kind of just how we're going to be talking about it. Stephen Wonderboy obviously won the fight. He called out the BMF. He said the NMF versus the BMF for which would be Jorge Masvidal. That's a great fight. What are you thinking? Who do you think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson should face next in the UFC?
I like the call out of Jorge Masvidal. I think that is the fight to make. With the performance he had Saturday, he showed he's definitely a serious threat at 170. And I think that this is a fight that Masvidal probably want to run back as well. Obviously, Wonderboy defeated him at UFC 217, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, I think Masvidal would be eager to get this one back. I think Masvidal feels he could win this fight just like Thompson feels he'd win it. Yeah. I think it's a fan-friendly fight, and I think it's what the promotion should consider making. Right now, Wonderboy's number 5 at 170. Masvidal's number 4. So a win for one over the other would be huge. And if I'm Wonderboy, I do everything I can to fight up the rankings. I don't fight down. Obviously, he proved he's good enough to still contend for a title with that performance on Saturday. So I fight up. And when you're looking up in the rankings, it's Masvidal that makes the most sense, in my opinion. I know Burns and Usman are working towards something, or that's supposed to happen. Colby's there, but is Colby in the works for a fight?
Well, this is what I'm kind of thinking. I think Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington want to fight each other.
Right, okay, yeah, right. So they were talking about them being in the works for a fight, but man, I love to see that one too. But if I'm Wonderboy, I think Masvidal is a perfect opponent, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So, I think Covington could end up being the odd man out in the top 5 with these guys. Yeah,
I love that, and that's my number 1 fight that I think makes the most sense. It's a great call out, obviously, from Stephen Thompson. I'm gonna go with the plan B though. Let's say Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal fight. Do they do the Ultimate Fighter, which is being discussed right now? Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I'd be down to see that fight as well. Welterweight's so fun with all their fights. My plan B is, and this might also be more realistic timeline-wise, depending on when Stephen Thompson can fight, whenever his knee heals up, the winner of Leon Edwards versus Chimaev. Because that person, Leon Edwards, is sitting at he got his ranked back. So he's sitting at number 4. So technically, I don't know whenever the ranking comes out, we'll have to check. But technically, as of right now, whenever this podcast is being recorded, Leon Edwards is ranked above Stephen Thompson. The winner of that fight might go to number 4. The winner of that fight's going to be in the top 5. Whether they're number 5 or number 4, we don't know yet. But I think that could be a potential fight because Usman versus Burns, they're going to fight. And in my opinion, I think there's just so much money to be made. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal are going to fight. So that's the top 4. That's 4 guys right there. aside from that, the only other fight that could earn you a title fight is I think is the winner of Chimaev versus Edwards. I think whoever wins that should face Wonder Boy, and then the winner of that gets the next title shot, whether that's after Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington, or if that goes first. That's two potential title eliminators, whichever one the UFC chooses first, whatever. But I think that's a potential 1, 2, 3 in line for the title shot for whoever's the champion at that point. So that's my plan B. And I think that's actually kind of possibly realistic for what's going to happen, considering the whole Ultimate Fighter situation. Because I think for the next Ultimate Fighter season, Dana White's going to want to choose two heated people to go at it to make another interesting watch. So
right.
I think that's kind of how it's going to play out. But I also think Stephen Thompson could earn a title shot off of that fight as well. So it's still, even though maybe the rank is the one below, I still think that's a title eliminator fight for him. So that's another fight that I think he should consider taking. Or if he just wants to wait, that's another option. He could just wait for a little bit and pick and choose whoever the number one contender is, whether they lose or come off a title loss. So that's just kind of what I think. I think that plan B would kind of suit him best if he can't land Masvidal.
Right. Yeah, and I like the idea of him taking on the winner of Edwards and Chimaev. I think that'd be a great one. I think the winner of that fight is next in line for a title shot.
Yeah,
I would assume. So it's going to take a little bit for Thompson to get back to the actual title fight, but I think there's definitely options for him there. Mm-hmm. Once these fights play out over the next couple of months, like you said, if Masvidal and Covington end up doing the Ultimate Fighter, then eventually that'll play itself out.
Yeah,
Chimaev and Edwards I know they're rescheduled. So hopefully they can get through that. Hopefully that fight happens, and I think the winner of that one gets a title shot. So maybe two or three fights for Thompson. I'm thinking to get to the belt, but there's definitely a way to get there.
Absolutely. All right, on to our last piece of news for this great podcast, and some big heavyweight news as well. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. It's not official yet, as of the last time I've checked, but it is heavily rumored that they are going to be scheduled for March. And another interesting little add-on to it, John Jones is supposed to face the winner in the summer. Now, the timeline for that we don't know, because how could you really decide March or the summer? But still, John Jones is supposed to face the winner of Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic, scheduled for March 2021. What are you thinking for this huge fight?
Yeah, like you said, it's rumored right now, but I think it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, these guys have fought once before in 2018, and Miocic just came into that fight on a tear. I think he had 5 straight KOs leading up to that one, 4 of them in the first round. And then Ngannou came in, he had just knocked Overeem's head into orbit with that uppercut.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, Ngannou was a guy who everybody thought was going to just run straight through Stipe and really just terrorize the heavyweight division. Obviously that won the case. Stipe fought so well, and Ngannou looked lost at times in that fight. I think it almost stifled. But obviously it was a very big win for Stipe and a very underwhelming performance for Ngannou, considering what we had seen him do to Overeem and the guys before Overeem. So I don't know. I'm excited to see that fight happen again. I think Ngannou has made adjustments, or feels like he's made adjustments to take out Stipe. Obviously, Stipe just got to do what he did the first time around, and I don't think he's looking to finish Ngannou. I think he's just more looking to outstrike him, outscore him, and not get knocked out himself. I think March of 21 is what they're talking. So, and like you mentioned, John Jones, man, I'm glad Francis is getting the shot first.
Yes.
First of all, rather than Jones. I think he deserves it. And obviously the winner will get Jones, and that's the plan. And I can't wait to see either of these guys against Jones, man, at heavyweight. I think for Stipe, if he's to beat Ngannou again and then take on Jones and is able to beat Jones, and I mean, you're talking definite greatest heavyweight of all time, if not greatest fighter of all time.
I'm thinking all time. If he does that, that's all time.
If he's able to beat Ngannou again and take out Jones, but that remains to be seen. But obviously, I think they're going to fight again. I think Stipe gets a job done again. I think he's just too good for Ngannou, and I can't wait to see him and Jones go at it. That's going to be great.
Yes, I am so excited. And like you said, Ngannou deserves this shot more than anybody. He is one of the scariest humans on the planet. It's just when you see his physique and everything, and he goes in there, and really, technically Derek Lewis won against him, but really the only person to actually beat Francis Ngannou has been Stipe. That Derek Lewis fight for me was him kind of recovering from that loss to Stipe, and then he got back to it.
Yep.
No one has really been able to slow down what he does. He's registered right now as the most powerful punching human on the planet. That uppercut he landed against Alistair Overeem, unreal. For me, whenever he fought Stipe the first time, I love Stipe. I didn't give him a chance against Ngannou. I thought Ngannou was just going to reign supreme over that division for a long time, just because no one could take the power. And after that fight, that was whenever Stipe became the greatest heavyweight of all time for me. He had already defended it. I think that tied it for the record at that point, and then beating a guy like Ngannou, who no one had even challenged up to that point, for me, that was just like, wow. Obviously, Stipe then coming back, and then I say, in my opinion, he is the first guy to legitimately beat Daniel Cormier, and he did it twice. I say that because John Jones and his history with performance-enhancing drugs.
Right.
So Stipe, in my opinion, is the first actual guy to legitimately beat Daniel Cormier, and he did it twice. And so to do that, to come back, especially after losing the way he did, boom. Ngannou, obviously, he's been on a tear again. I can't wait for this fight. I don't really. I have to get a feeling for it before the fight happens to make a prediction, but I'm so excited for it. Yeah. And obviously John Jones coming in, it's such a fun thing because he will be challenged. He will be legitimately challenged, not only in the fight, but also the fact that his chin will be challenged like it's never been challenged before.
Yes.
With either of these guys that he fights. I think Ngannou is a dangerous matchup for him, but if Stipe wins this, riding off the fights that he's been riding off of, I don't think John Jones gets past Stipe, especially with the wrestling advantage but the wrestling that Stipe has, the size that he has, the power that he has, and if he's riding off a win over Daniel Cormier twice and Francis Ngannou, no one wants to fight Stipe then. And then obviously Ngannou could take your head off at any time. So I'm so excited to see this. I love that John Jones is moving up to heavyweight. I think it should have happened a long time ago. I am so hyped. The heavyweight division is awesome. And I'm all here for it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I think Stipe is going to get past Ngannou. I can't call the Jones and Stipe fight right now. Yeah. I love watching both of them fight. I think they're both great. Yeah. Obviously, like you mentioned, the PED issues with Jones and all that stuff. But man, that would really solidify Stipe as the greatest of all time, I think. Excited to see how that plays out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow us. First off, listen everywhere. We're on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're there, obviously, on YouTube. Leave a review where you can. Follow us on Instagram at MMA Island. Right now, there are MMA Island awards going on, so check that out. You can vote for your Fighter of the Year, KO of the Year, anything of the year you can vote for. And on our website as well, MMAisland.net. Check us out. Thanks again so much for listening, and great podcast, Mace.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.